I remember sitting in the locker room in Philadelphia, waiting for the last words from Bill Parcells before we go out. And I remember sitting there going, okay, hang in there. Just, don't give up, hang in there, because I knew what was coming.
Best player I've ever played with or against, by far, Reggie White.
The dominant defensive player in this league.
We were taking a whooping. And I remember looking in the eyes of some of the guys that were responsible for blocking Jerome Brown. I saw him on the sideline. Didn't want any more of that game.
You guessed it, Jerome Brown.
That was nothing but fear. Jerome Brown put fear in football players.
You gonna be a football player when you grow up?
Today is the best day of your life. Believe it.
He might be the finest quarterback produced in the last 10 years.
Philadelphia Eagles select Donovan McNabb.
And he said, I'm the best decision this organization has ever made.
He's a day like this. That's all I need.
Fortunately for me, I didn't lose my life, didn't lose my job. Football convinced me that life is a team game.
That's right, it's a game from there.
Rest of your life. Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it.
Was this the final game on the sideline for a great coach?
I want to thank you very much for making my day in the sun so memorable.
This is a story of two men who shared a profession, a team, and the same fate, dying young. Jerome Brown was the 9th overall pick in the 1987 NFL Draft, anchored the NFL's best defensive line, then died suddenly in 1992. His teammate and close friend, Reggie White, narrated this video tribute.
I'll never forget that day in July. That day that came too early. My friend Jerome Brown was gone. I wish you could have known him. You should have known he loved life. Your children should have known he loved children.
Get down!
He was fun to be around. He was also misunderstood.
I quit.
When your children ask you, what kind of a man was Jerome Brown? Tell them an honest man, who on this day, last May, introduced me to the people who understood him best.
I'm gonna tell you one thing, Reggie. This is where I was brought up at, and they're gonna say what they want to say. If it hurts your feelings or not, they're gonna tell you the truth. And that's where I get that from when it comes to football.
12 years later, Reggie White died. Their final resting places are 600 miles apart, but their football lives together began at a summer camp in 1979. Jerome Brown was a high school player from Florida when he traveled to the University of Tennessee football camp. And it was there he met Reggie White, who was working as a counselor and coach.
Reggie loved volunteering, and Jerome was just happened to be one of the players that came. You know, being 3 or 4 years older than a person is a lot sometimes, especially impressionable ages in high school. And he just attached himself to Reggie during camp.
Reggie went from camp volunteer to Tennessee volunteer. In 4 years on the defensive line, he was a 2-time All-American and set the school record for sacks.
Sacked by Reggie White, who is simply overpowering.
Reggie then shocked the football world by signing with the USFL's Memphis Showboats.
He chose the USFL because I was a senior in college, and he wanted to stay close to home. And he thought it'd be a great transition for him to go to Memphis, Tennessee.
In 1985, the Philadelphia Eagles held his NFL rights, but he was still under contract with the Memphis Showboats. That fall, new Eagles owner Norman Brayman made a bold statement.
I made contact with the ownership of the Memphis team and paid him $1 million, which was a hell of a lot of money back in 1985, and was able to bring Reggie to Philadelphia.
Brayman's seven-figure offer was impressive, but Reggie couldn't get his number and had to play his first season wearing 91.
We didn't have a lot of respect to think that he was as good as he was. We didn't know.
The veteran guys were like, yeah, prove it. We finally made it to the field, and he was a wrecking ball.
Sims goes back to throw. Looking. Sims is down. Reggie White, just acquired. You know, his nickname is the Minister of Defense.
I could see such awe in the face of the Giants' offensive linemen because he was running over them, and there was a frightening look in their face. He was doing something that really had shook them up.
I'll tell you, he's going to be a force. If he can play this well the first time he plays, wait until around mid-season, he'll really be going.
As Reggie's NFL career was taking off, Jerome Brown had arrived with the Miami Hurricanes. Number 98 talked a big game and played an even better one.
Big Jerome Brown, he's a load.
They're coming into our field. Jerome Brown's talking trash.
Jerome Brown has had a sensational game.
You could not run the football against him. We had a secret weapon, though. We had Troy Aikman.
That day, that was my first introduction to Jerome Brown.
Troy came out throwing him. Somebody said, we got to get him out of the game.
To the corner, good. Touchdown, Oklahoma.
Next play, they were carrying Troy out of the game, thanks to Jerome Brown.
Jerome Brown's after him, and he's got it. He's a stud, that Brown, number 98.
Got twisted up and ended up breaking my leg. Really kind of impacted my entire career. I wound up transferring and then, maybe wouldn't have made it to the NFL if it hadn't have been for that misfortune.
In his senior year, Jerome was a consensus All-American and led an undefeated Miami team into the 1987 Fiesta Bowl.
Before he left, he goes, don't believe everything you're going to see or read. He goes, we're going to try to get in their heads. We're going to try to intimidate them.
The Hurricanes arrived dressed to kill, literally.
And of course, made all kinds of news. Miami Hurricanes come to Arizona and battle fatigues. When JB says it, that's what you do.
We didn't come here to act monkeys for everybody. We came here to play football, you know what I mean?
Yes, we do know what you mean, Jerome. This is defensive tackle Jerome Brown, number 98 in your program, at the infamous Saturday night steak fry and walkout. Jerome and his teammates were, as they say, put out by the Penn State players' skit. All-American Jerome Brown is a team leader.
Did the Japanese go and sit down and have dinner with Pearl Harbor and Billy Bongo? Well, fellas, let's go.
And the Hurricanes split in just the latest instance of good sportsmanship.
Same crazy Jerome. Not gonna change anyways. If you say do, I won't do. If you say don't, I'll do. It's just like I'm just that type of like a big kid sometimes.
Jerome Brown was a big kid, while Reggie White was a man from day one in Philadelphia.
And Reggie White came in unmolested.
Reggie would average more than a sack a game for his Eagles career. But it was in the spring of 1987 that head coach Buddy Ryan made the move that would elevate Philadelphia into an elite NFL defense.
It was the offseason, and Bill Parcells looked at me and he goes, hey, Sims, your life's about to change. And I go, oh, what did I do now, And he goes, our life's about to change. Jerome Brown's going to be drafted by the Eagles. And I went, is he really that good? He goes, yes, sir, he is. Our life has changed.
When Jerome Brown and Reggie White teamed up for the 1987 season, they were an odd couple off the field, but kindred spirits on the defensive line.
You got both of these guys on each end of the spectrum. JB, the party guy that flips and plays like a beast.
People look at us like we're crazy when we go on the field, and I could care less if we're going to still hit them in the mouth regardless.
Jerome Brown constantly moving and constantly talking.
On the other side, you got Reggie White. Oh, hallelujah. He's the preacher man that flips and turns like a beast.
I made Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
Neither one of them could be quiet. I mean, Reggie was either doing his impersonations or singing.
No, I tell you, you know my coach, Buddy Ryan, I tell you, he's so ugly. When they cry, tears go down the back of his head, avoid his face, I tell you.
And Jerome just couldn't keep his mouth shut.
He's 28 years old and don't want to take a bath after practice. So if you see him in the streets, call the police. Thank you.
Reggie White was just a cut-up. He was one of those guys who loved to have fun.
I'm gonna hit you hard. You hear me? You hear me? I'm the greatest in the world.
One time, Reggie White is doing Muhammad Ali to Muhammad Ali. And then Bill Cosby came by one time. So Reggie White is doing Bill Cosby to Bill Cosby.
Now I'm gonna tell you a story. You gotta sit down and be quiet.
The lighter side of Reggie White was often overshadowed by his more widely recognized spiritual side.
I think it's important for me as a Christian athlete to spread the gospel while I'm playing football.
Early in his career with the Eagles, Reggie started what he called his street corner ministry.
Reggie every Friday would go into North Philadelphia, into the really bad areas of North Philadelphia, and he would bring food, and then he would deliver his message. I said to him one day, I'd like to go with you some Friday and just watch you do what you do and write about it. And Reggie said, I'll let you come with me on one condition: if you don't write about it.
You knew about Reggie's faith. Reggie never pushed it on anybody. He never said, you're going to hell, you're going this, you're going... He never did any of that.
Father, I have an opportunity personally to finally win a championship, and we're on the road there. Okay?
Yes, we are.
Thank you, Father.
He walked the walk, and he talked the talk. That was the man that he was.
Reggie walked and talked, while Jerome Brown ran and shouted. He was a wild child who didn't like to be confined.
When we grew up going to church, he always had to wear a tie. Well, as Jerome became an adult, one of the first things he got rid of was wearing a tie. He did not like to wear a tie.
Buddy Ryan required everybody to wear suit and ties. And he sat at the front of the plane checking off, are you fully dressed? But Buddy was a player's coach. And it's like, what do you tell Jerome Brown? He probably had a size 22 neck.
Buddy Ryan cared more about wins and losses than ties. So Jerome didn't have to wear his Sunday best as long as he was at his best on Sunday.
If you had 45 Jerome Browns, you'd win every game. I don't care what. Nobody beat you.
And we've got to fight Jerome Brown.
Like any big kid, Jerome enjoyed testing the limits of what he could do, both on and off the field.
Jerome, I hope the starter comes on. I got about 4 race cars and motorcycles, so it keeps me out of trouble.
We'd all time talk to him about speeding in the wrong places and this and that.
Jerome would get on his motorcycle and ride across Veterans Stadium parking lot. It speeds upwards of 70, 80 miles an hour, chasing seagulls. I mean, it was a hard thing to watch.
I think there were more than a few people, I was one of them, that thought he's living hard, and you hold your breath. You hold your breath.
He show up at home at 4 o'clock in the morning. We got to be at practice by 7. He goes out and practice, and then he goes home and takes a nap, and he said, let's go again.
Jerome was still this young buck coming out of college and girls chasing him. And it takes a little bit more time for people to grow up than others.
There was a wild side to Jerome, and Reggie was constantly trying to get him to settle down.
I saw Reggie as being the one that kind of kept Jerome in line and kind of gave him words of wisdom.
I just, sit back and I learn from Reggie. Now I feel like I'm at home because I can talk to him anytime I want to if I have a problem.
We have a great relationship. Right now, I think Jerome has a lot to learn, and that's something I want to spend some time with him to try to help him learn.
By 1988, Buddy Ryan's Eagles possessed one of the league's most disruptive defenses. At the center of it were Reggie White and Jerome Brown.
Buddy Ryan let personality mix with talent, and it became greatness.
Ryan won a Super Bowl in Chicago as the architect of the Bears' famed 46 defense. When he got to Philadelphia, they just called it Buddy Ball. And Reggie and Jerome were perfect for it.
The philosophy defensively was to dominate, and it was to dominate through intimidation.
Our defense, we're going to be aggressive until the end. We're going to try to punish you, and if you don't like us or whatever, that's besides the point, because we're going to get paid anyway.
Buddy believed that if you punish receivers, if you punish the quarterback, that the human part of them will break.
Who are you going to double team? You going to double team Reggie White? You going to double team Jerome Brown? Who are you going to block?
My rookie year, I remember scrambling and I got tackled from behind, and I was trying to figure out who was that. When I got up off the ground, it was Reggie White. And I remember thinking to myself, if I can't outrun someone that big, I'm going to be taking a lot of hits.
You know, he'd hit you, start to take you down, and man, want to make sure you got the full effect. I used to call it the dead fish.
Jerome Brown was just strong. I mean, it was like, okay, you're there, I'm here, and I'm getting ready to whoop your butt. He has that ability to get low and lift you up out of the way. That's why double teams couldn't even work. It was the most phenomenal thing in the world to watch.
You come off the ball, he just goes, wah! And you're laying on the ground, and he's in the backfield with his quickness.
That defense, to me, was by far the most imposing and dominating I've ever seen.
They can bull and rush you. Or they can run around you. Now they can fake run around you and bull.
They hit me one time very hard, both of them. And Jerome starts patting me on the butt going, that's it, hang in there now. That away, good job, hang in there. You're okay, hang in there. And I was like, is he meaning this as a compliment? Or is he like, oh, please don't leave because we love hitting you.
The Eagles won 31 games in 3 years.
We got a ball for you. Great job.
And became the team no one wanted to play. The signature game of Buddy Ryan's defense came in 1990. 11 Redskins were sidelined during what is affectionately referred to in Philadelphia as the body bag game.
Boy, what an unfortunate night for the Redskins, who have been battered tonight.
Don't come in our backyard and talk trash. You can talk it in your own backyard, but when you come in our backyard and you try to start something, you always get your butt kicked.
They were a team that liked to bully teams. They were a team that felt that they could win by intimidating teams. But they were a team that tended to take things for granted more than they should.
Things like playoff victories.
And the Chicago Bears are going to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles in the fog.
3 straight years, the Eagles lost in the first round of the postseason.
And a disappointment for Buddy Ryan, who has now gone 0-3 as a playoff coach with the Eagles.
My theory was the road to the Super Bowl went through Philadelphia in those days. It's just the Eagles never took it.
Following the Eagles' 3rd consecutive playoff loss, Buddy Ryan was replaced by offensive coordinator Rich Kotite.
It was like a betrayal that Norman Braman has gotten rid of our coach. And not only that, he's bringing his other guy in who was on the team, his offensive coordinator. Was this in the plan all the time?
Now you've got an offensive head coach in Richie Kotite, and he didn't have a good relationship with the defensive side.
Defense is up.
In fact, I remember guys having to keep Jerome away from Richie because there was a big spat one day, and he was going after Kotite. it really hurt the whole chemistry of the team.
They had already lost Buddy Ryan, and on opening day 1991, they lost quarterback Randall Cunningham for the season. But the defense rallied and became just the 5th defense in NFL history to finish first against the pass, first against the run, and first overall.
You didn't look at 91 like, hey, we're heading downhill. We're looking at it when Randall gets healthy, we're back in the hunt again.
Let's go with it, baby. Let's go with it.
The feeling was, we have this defense, this is this good, we get Randall back next year healthy, that's going to be our championship run.
Look, Harry, I'm working. That means more money. And who said I don't work in the off season? Took me 4 years, but I learned. They said it couldn't be done. Guess I've grown up a little bit.
He was just starting to grow up. And it was good to hear. He was talking about investing money and buying a business, because he pretty much on the first contract took care of the family, got his toys, and now it was time to think about his future.
But Jerome never forgot his past. He grew up in Brooksville, Florida, a small town 1 hour north of Tampa. He left for Philadelphia in 1987, but Brooksville never left him.
The people of Brooksville loved him. He gave money to the school, to the city, to the organization. You know, he was the one when the KKK came through, held up the sign, KKK, go away.
Jerome had a connection with, whether it was the African-American community, the white community, he had a way of bringing the community together.
He would consider my mom his second mom, and I did that with Miss Annie Bell, too, Jerome's mom. We both called him Mom.
This is the T-shirt that Jerome brought me the night of my retirement party out on Old Crystal River Road. He walked in there and he said, "Here, Mom, this is for you." Once he was your friend, he was for always.
In the spring of 1992, he asked Reggie White and the rest of his Eagles teammates to help with the first annual Jerome Brown football camp.
It was very important to him to bring back whatever he had gained out in America back to little bitty Brooksville.
I'm going to start recruiting down here. Where we at, Bloomfield? What's this, Bloomfield we're in? Brooksville. Wait a minute.
Reggie would have a crew. Jerome would have a crew.
You got your leg wrong, man. Other leg supposed to be up.
And he was just a happy young man. We didn't worry about anything then.
I quit.
How's camp going, Jerome?
I quit. I don't want to sit another kid after 1 o'clock. I am teetotally tired. But it turned out just fine.
It was something that I saw in his eyes that he was so proud of accomplishing. Within a month and a half later, he was gone. He's gone.
Police are still trying to piece together the accident that took the life of the Eagles' two-time All-Pro.
Jerome also had a passenger in the car, his nephew, 12-year-old Gus Brown.
We couldn't get a chance to see him. We had to go to the hospital to see him. And he had passed. He had my little grandson with him. And he was gone too. And that hurt it.
The car slid off the road and hit a light pole, killing them both.
It had rained earlier, and apparently the pavement was slick, and he lost control. It flipped, and I think the T-tops were off, so basically broke his neck, and we lost him and Gus. Sorry.
In the era before the internet and text messages, the news of Jerome Brown's death traveled slowly.
I remember getting a call from my dad. He told me that Jerome had passed, and he said, you need to go and get your sister. Don't tell her. Don't listen to the radio. Turn the television off.
I recall seeing his picture on TV, but it wasn't odd for me to see Jerome on TV. He's always on TV. Once we actually arrived, my parents explained that it wasn't an accident, and both of them were gone.
Reggie White was back in Philadelphia's Veterans Stadium as the guest speaker for the Billy Graham Crusade. Reggie was told of Jerome's death moments before he took the stage, then broke the news to the Philly faithful.
Tonight I had planned on sharing my testimony, but it's kind of been altered. Today, I lost a great friend. Philadelphia lost a great player. Jerome Brown died today. You know, this man was a very special man to me. His family were very special people. Out of all the stuff that you heard about Jerome Brown, and the things said about him, and even the negative stuff, this man was one of the greatest people I ever met and knew in my life.
Until they closed the casket, we all thought Jerome was pulling a prank. I remember talking to a couple other guys, and one of them was like, Jerome's gonna jump up. Jerome's gonna get us. Jerome, he's just messing with us right now. And when they closed the coffin, that was tough.
He was fun to be around. He, like myself, were two big kids in grown men's bodies. And we enjoyed life.
When we got to the cemetery, it was a known thing of his teammates that Jerome didn't like to wear a tie.
I can remember Reggie White taking off his tie. And as he took off his tie, he laid that tie right on the coffin.
It was Reggie and another teammate and Clyde.
Every guy, take off his tie and just leave it right there.
That was kind of our, to him, yeah, here you go. We're not going to wear them either. It was a moment Jerome would have enjoyed, for sure.
The loss of Jerome Brown was a huge loss. He was not just a tremendous player coming off his best season, but he was also kind of a life force within that team. It really changed the room. I mean, you walked in the room, it sounded different, it felt different.
All the joking which Jerome always kept going wasn't there as much. And I think Reggie stepped in that for a while afterwards because there was this big gap there.
Reggie was going through a hard time, and he took it very hard, but his mission got stepped up because life is not promised.
In the aftermath of Jerome's death, two promises were made. First, the Eagles vowed to build a community center in Jerome's honor.
After the funeral, Reggie and Keith Jackson came in our family restaurant, and Reggie said, Miss Jenkins, if you can get this town to donate $100,000 to build a center, we will match it. And I looked at them and I said, we cannot raise $10,000, let alone $100,000. And they said, oh, yes, you can.
Then, Reggie and his teammates dedicated the 1992 season to Jerome.
It's going to be hard without Jerome there, but guys know that Jerome wanted the championship more than anything, and hopefully it'll be an added boost to us all to get it done.
On opening day, the Eagles retired number 99.
And one thing we will always have here is our memories of Jerome Brown. His memories will be here forever. And let's make sure that throughout this season, that this whole stadium rocks loud enough where Jerome Brown can hear us.
The Eagles started the season 4-0. There was a sense of urgency surrounding the team.
Every year we say, well, this is our year, this is our year. And I'm pretty much getting tired of saying this is our year. We got the team to do it. We can't bank on next year. If we're gonna do it, it's gotta be this year.
Everything about that 92 season was we're going to win it for Jerome. We're going to win it for Jerome. Seth Joyner had 99 carved into the back of his hair. His locker was like a shrine.
They left his locker exactly as he left it. And it just stayed right there next to Reggie's locker the whole year.
You know, a lot of times when you circle the wagons around someone, that has a shelf life.
That's what we play football for. From a man JB doing, taking him to the house.
But we really kept going with it. I mean, Jerome really helped carry us.
JB on 3. 1, 2, 3. JB!
He tries to throw the ball, it's intercepted. And running in for a touchdown is Reggie White.
The Eagles won 11 games and a wild card berth. In search of their first postseason win in over a decade, they traveled to New Orleans for the first round of the playoffs.
When the players came in the locker room that Sunday at the Superdome, Jerome's locker was there. The guys on the team didn't know it. They had brought all his stuff down, and they had set it all up, hung it all up, and they had it there with everybody else's. And it had an effect.
We make it dedicated to Jerome. We got to keep it going a bit. JB!
The idea that he was with that team that day, people could say, oh, that's hokey stuff, but if the players believed it, then it's real. And the players believed it.
On first down, Hebert's going to throw. He fires. It's intercepted by Joyner. Intercepted across the 30. Back goes Hebert again under a rush. Intercepted. And running in for a touchdown is Eric Allen.
It's your turn, Reverend. Your turn. Don't let him hold your ass no more.
Here they go. Back goes Hebert. He's hit. He's safety. Safety. It's going to be a safety, or is it? Yep, they give it a safety. The Eagles have blown the roof off the Superdome. The Eagles have blown the roof off the Superdome.
We were winning the Super Bowl. We were. You know, that's how confident we were.
You're going to Dallas, Dre! You're going to Dallas, Dre!
We just felt it was going to be for Jerome. We were good enough to win it, and that's what we're going to do.
Against Dallas, having Jerome in their hearts wasn't enough. The Eagles needed Jerome on the field.
Another long offseason for Reggie White.
And a lot of questions as to whether he'll be back in a green uniform next year.
Reggie's plan was to stay with Philadelphia. I mean, we did an addition. We had a 2,000 square feet house. We got little ones that are babies, and we just knew we were going to be in South Jersey forever until he retired. That was just the way it went.
But by allowing himself to be a named plaintiff in the players' antitrust case against the NFL, Reggie White had become the face of free agency.
Reggie and other players who had exercised the right of free agency wanted to investigate other opportunities. That was what they battled for.
In Philadelphia, fans were outspoken about their desire to keep Reggie in Eagles green.
Philadelphians want Reggie to know wherever he is that he is going to be a part of this city and live in our hearts forever.
He told Jimmy Sexton, Jimmy says, you can go anywhere you want. He said, I want to stay with the Eagles. Well, Norman's not offering a contract. Reggie's like, what do you mean? You know, Mr. Braman's not offering a contract. Well, he's not offering you anything.
And we did make a tender offer to Reggie White, and I remember that tender offer was $15 million. I don't remember how many years that was to be spaced over, but I remember a $15 million offer that was made.
I don't know exactly the timing of it, but at the same time, we would like to have had Reggie stay.
If you remember, Reggie at that time said that he's going to go where God tells him to go.
If Mr. Brayman offered Reggie anything to stay with Philadelphia, Reggie would have stayed in Philadelphia. Reggie did not want to leave Philadelphia.
Believing there was no contract offer, Reggie embarked on a whirlwind free agency tour.
I called my wife this morning. She said, how'd it go? I said, hey, I was the lead story in the news last night. So
On April 6, 1993, Reggie White again shocked the football world by signing with the Green Bay Packers.
Up to that point was 25 years previous is when the Packers were the Packers. So to get a free agent, the quality of Reggie White, when other teams were just beating down the door to get him, I thought was, to me, is one of the all-time great steals in free agency. First time Reggie White told me he loved me, I'm not going to lie to you. I felt a little uneasy, that's a little kind of cushy, Reggie. Maybe it was awkward at first, but after a while you just got, I can't tell you how many times I talked to Reggie on the phone. We'd go to hang up. Oh, I love you, Brett. I love you too, Reggie, But, he made it easy.
Reggie White joined the Green Bay Packers in 1993 and helped revitalize the NFL's most storied franchise.
Here they come, here comes Reggie. All right.
He was considered one of the best defensive players in NFL history and on the brink of completing what he could never finish in Philadelphia.
He talked about that team in Jerome. He felt like there's no doubt whatsoever they should have won a Super Bowl.
Can you be fulfilled without a Super Bowl ring?
Oh, yeah, I can be fulfilled. My life has already been fulfilled. I realized one thing that, even though you win a championship, pretty soon life is going to end. I want to be able to attain the goal of reaching heaven more than the championship.
It has finally arrived, the day we've waited for, I guess, for about 29 years now, for the Green Bay Packers to play in the Super Bowl.
In Super Bowl 31, the Packers led early, but the New England Patriots mounted a second-half comeback, and then Reggie ended it.
Reggie got him again! They got him again! Back in the 20, hello, Reggie! And now maybe it's over. The Vince Lombardi Trophy is coming home where it started. World champion, Green Bay Packers. Oh my goodness, what a way to end it. Reggie White, is this heaven or what?
It don't get any better than this.
What if I do win a championship, like I have?
After retiring as the NFL's all-time sack leader, Reggie continued his spiritual journey by learning Hebrew and taking a pilgrimage to Israel.
If I'm going to find God, I better go find it for myself. I got to go back and research the scripture in its original language to see what it says. Let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years.
One of the great statements that Reggie White said, and I'll try to say it in the best Reggie White voice I can, he said, K-Jack, if I'm only known when I pass away for being a football player, then I failed at life.
On Christmas Day 2004, Reggie and Sarah attended a midnight movie.
When we came back, it was very late at night, and there was something going on in the stars. And Reggie said something about something's going to happen tonight. He woke up choking, gasping, and I didn't know what he was doing. It was 7 o'clock in the morning, but I turned the light on, I looked over, and he was gasping for air. So I quickly called 911. And my kids were still sleeping. And then, got rushed to the hospital, and 45 minutes later, they pronounced them dead.
The cause of death was complications from sarcoidosis and sleep apnea.
The circle of our family was broken, but now Reggie and Jerome are right in the middle of all that, and we just, close up ranks and still keep those guys in our thoughts and memories, each and every day.
I mean, I really hate to even think about it, because it do bring back a lot of memories, because Reggie White was a good man.
It was like hearing the news that Jerome had died again.
How does Reggie die?
Reggie White's not supposed to die. That guy is going to live forever. But it didn't happen.
He has so much more things to do in his life. He was going to do something huge.
I'm not sure Reggie White, he'd have been the head of the players union. The players would have went, yes.
Reggie White left behind his wife, Sarah, and 2 children.
Last year you went swimming.
It doesn't hurt like it used to hurt. It's an anger, but it's not a mad at you anger, but it's an anger question, like, why couldn't you wait? At least till I got 70.
Jerome Brown is buried in Brooksville, Florida, not far from the community center that bears his name. It was completed 8 years after his death and stands as a tribute to the town's favorite son. Reggie White rests near Charlotte, North Carolina. The Packers and Eagles retired his number, and in 2005, he was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. As teammates, they shared a patch of turf for too short a time, hoping next year would be their year. But next year never came. Reggie White and Jerome Brown were gifted at their craft, but were denied the greatest gift, length of days. But in their time, they created memories that filled the hearts of friends and fans and family.
People could say Jerome and Reggie were different, but yet they were the same in many ways. They had great personality traits that were alike that made them mesh into friends.
I see the connection there that lets you know that they were meant to be. They were meant to be.